and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be creating 2 looks with the newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics, the Santa's Village palette. This is a Christmas themed eyeshadow palette and it is limited edition. There's 5 shimmer shades and 4 mattes, and as you can see from the swatches, these shimmers are definitely very sheer, very topper-like. These shimmers do look a little bit chunkier, just like looking at them in the pan, and then swatching them, they are pretty hard pressed. They actually remind me of the shadows that were in the Studio 54 collection, where it was like a little quad of just shimmer shadows, and those were so extremely hard pressed. They were almost impossible to pick up, especially if you went and swatched them first. They completely hard panned, and I do have to say, from just doing the swatches, specifically the shade Peace has already kind of formed a hard layer over it, so it is like, it does pick up and you can see it looks beautiful, but I can really feel the hard panning happening. So let's get right into the 2 looks. I'm going first into e.l.f. and I'm going to be popping it onto the outer corner and bringing it into the crease. This is going to be a little bit of a simpler kind of look. I feel like, just like with anything that is Christmassy themed, it can be really hard to pair colors together, specifically because Christmas colors are red and green, and you can't mix those two, so you have to kind of find in between shades for that. And I'm just taking a little bit more and popping it into the crease, but this is blending super nicely. I primed with the Gimme Glow eyeshadow primer, just kind of trying to finish it up. I feel like I'm getting pretty close. So I do feel like you're going to get very specific kinds of looks with this palette, especially because it is 9 pans and only 4 mattes, which is totally fine, but something to keep in mind. And then I'm also taking e.l.f. just a little bit underneath my lower lash line, but I'm not taking it too far. Next, I'm taking the number 2 brush from Refer, and I'm dipping into White Christmas. And I'm just going to stamp that over the area that I did not put e.l.f. down. So I feel like you can tell from this is not the most pigmented white. I could have definitely went in, just kind of cut the crease with a white eyeshadow primer to really make this pop, but I really wanted to see how this white is, because there's definitely quite a few white mattes I've tried now, and I feel like this one is a bit on the sheer side, which is fine. So I think I'm just going to use my pinky first, and I'm going to go in with Peace, which is a stunning shade, and I'm going to be using my finger. Would definitely recommend with these shimmers to go in with a brush, but I do just kind of prefer to these days. And I'm going to use, next I'm taking a toothier brush, so something like this where it has a little bit of fluff to it, but it is still flat. I'm going into Sauna. I did just mist it very lightly. I really want to see how these apply with a brush. That actually is going on pretty nicely. Super topper-like, and you might like that, you might not. I do have an appreciation for these kind of lighter shades, but I feel like maybe this is just a little bit too many sheer shades. But it does make it fun because you do have kind of 2 deeper mattes to really layer over, and I think that's going to be the most fun part of it. I'm going to go back into Peace, definitely hard pressed. Okay, so the brush definitely works better than my finger, but I still do feel like, and that is just giving a really beautiful kind of ethereal light wash of color. Here's the first finished look, and here's how that shadow shifts. For the second look, I'm going in with Santa, and super pigmented, and I'm just going to take that right all over the lid and into the crease. Just going to slowly work it up so that I have a little bit of control on how much I'm going to bring it up. So much kick up in the pan. I'm actually a little bit surprised. I don't think I remember having this much kick up before in some of the other palettes from Nomad, but this is super pigmented. And I'm going to wipe my brush off the best that I can into a towel, clean microfiber towel, nice and gentle on my Refer brushes. And oh my gosh, this red is going a long way. So next time I think I'm going to pick up a little bit less, because I got a little bit more blown out than I wanted it to. I'm just going to dip into a little bit more out here. But oh my goodness, so pigmented. That's why I wanted to go in with this shade, and then I'm going to take it just a little bit underneath my lower lash line. Again, pretty powdery, you can see the fallout. Really stunning shade. I do feel like it's a little bit more pink. Now that it's on it, it definitely blends out to be a little bit more pink. Hopefully I can just like wipe this off. Okay. Not bad. A little bit messy, but that's fine. I think I'm gonna go in with a clean brush and some setting powder. This is just like a random press setting powder. And I'm just gonna take that like right on the edges of everything. So that everything is nice and blended. Going back in with the fluffy brush. This is the Refer 14 brush. And then I'm going to use a tacky primer. So I'm going to be using the Gimme Glow one. I did throw out my NYX glitter primer because it was in a jar and I just feel like it went bad pretty quickly. Probably because it wasn't tightly sealed, and that's understandable. But unfortunately, it broke right when I got it and I just didn't want to throw it out. Taking the Refer 02 brush and picking up Rudolph. Definitely a little bit harder pressed. It's picking up a little bit hard, but you can see something did get picked up, so hopefully the tacky primer will kind of work and help this adhere. Oh yeah, that's definitely way better than on the other side. I think I would recommend, if you do get this palette, to put down some sort of a tacky primer. Probably the stickier the better. Like the Fair & Pixie Epoxy I don't think will be sticky enough for this. And I'm just putting that all over the lid. And that is so beautiful. And I'm going to take that and just pop it in the inner corner. Just very lightly with my pinky. Here's the second finished look. Just some initial thoughts on the palette. I like the matte. I do feel that the two shades I used were very on par with their most recent palettes, where I love their mattes. Their mattes are super pigmented, very blendable, no patchy issues or anything like that. White Christmas was a little bit more sheer than I would have liked it to be. As for the shimmers, the moment I received the palette, which I received it before they actually revealed what the inside color story would look like, I could tell from the shimmers and the way that they're in the pan that they're a little bit on the chunky side, and I immediately got flashbacks to the Studio 54 palette, and that one I really did not like at all. I even depotted it. I was like, maybe like later down the road I'll try them again, and they became so unusable because they're so hard pressed that it's just impossible to pick them up. And if you try to use your finger when a brush doesn't work, you just make them hard pan even further. And it got to the point where basically I had to like kind of mush them around and really press hard in there, and they started kind of moving around a little bit, and I thought that was really strange. And I haven't seen that formula in any Nomad palettes since then, but this one definitely has that formula, and that makes me very skeptical to recommend this palette to you because of that, because I do think it makes this palette way more tricky. Now, most of these are pretty sheer, which, you know, is either a con or a pro for you, depending on how you like to wear your eyeshadow. I definitely have an appreciation for it. I would have loved to seen some of these be a little bit more pigmented maybe, but they are stunning colors. This one looks absolutely mesmerizing, but again, it's such a light wash of color. Out of the shimmers that I did use on my lid, I liked Rudolph the most. I feel like it gave me the most punch. I did use it over the glitter primer, and I think that definitely helped it, so would recommend using a tacky primer with these shimmers if you do end up getting this palette. Be very careful swatching these shimmer shadows because you will probably experience hard panning almost immediately. As for the color story as a whole, I do really feel like it's a great Christmas themed color story. Definitely a little bit restrictive because you do have 9 shadows only, and 4 of those are mattes only. So, and you have a green and a red. You'll probably mostly be using 1 or 2 mattes at a time because of that, because you can't really mix a lot of these together or else they will muddy up and just look a little bit strange. But you can layer the shimmers over the mattes, which I think will be really nice and really beautiful. So those are my thoughts on the Santa's Village palette after creating these 2 looks. Let me know in the comments below which look was your favorite and if you picked this palette up, and what do you think of it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Specifically, would love to hear your thoughts on the shimmers in here and if you feel like there is a difference. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.